In a world where cars get bigger and bigger each year, Minis aren't so mini anymore. Mini used to represent the physical size of their vehicles, but now I think it represents more of the cute funness and the quirkiness that Mini Coopers bring. Next to me is the 2025 Mini John Cooper Work Countryman. Let's take a look. For this generation, the Countryman is larger than before and is the largest Mini to date. It shares most of its underpinnings with the X1, BMW X1, and also the powertrain. In this case of the JCW, the X1 M35. Now under the hood is the BMW sourced B48 inline-4 turbocharged engine, which produced 312 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. Standard equipment is a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, and power goes to all 4 wheels. In terms of configurations, the JCW Countryman is pretty much one size fits all. Now you get to choose between different size rims, different patterns, and also option for sport brakes, and then of course the different color combinations. But aside from that, everything else is standard. So in terms of pricing, the base JCW Countryman starts at about 60,000 Canadian dollars, and this one as is about 62. From the exterior, gone are the round headlights and in are these trapezium shaped ones. Now I still think they are recognizable as Mini, but it's the red roof and the red mirror caps that screams Mini to me. Headlights aside, the JCW Countryman gets more aggressive front bumper, more aggressive hood, and also parking sensors, as well as the block in the middle, which is your ADAS system. I think it looks a little weird being in the middle there, this big block, but let me know what you think. Over to the side, the Mini JCW Countryman is very obviously much larger than before, about 5 inches longer than the predecessor and only about 2 inches shorter than a BMW X1. Aesthetically, the red mirror caps and red roof continues to be fundamentally Mini, and I also think the 20-inch upgraded rims kind of resembles the checkered flag. The JCW comes standard with keyless entry and also 360 camera, but mechanically speaking, it also includes 4-piston front brakes, McPherson strut style suspension in the front, and a multi-link setup in the rear. Around back, the Countryman is now more boxy and more angular, but I'm happy to report that the LED taillights still project the British flag. As a matter of fact, you can even program this to display other themes as well. Check it out. With an increased footprint comes an increased amount of cargo capacity. 25% to be exact. You also get a power liftgate and a kick to open feature. Inside here, you get a ton of space, and you can also fold down the seats, 40-20-40 split. But if you do want to fold them down, you got to go to the front side of the seat to pull the little strap to fold them down. Anyway, if you lift up the trunk floor, you also get a little bit more cargo space down here and a spare tire. But what I appreciate the most is the fact that the trunk floor stays up when I lift it open. It just feels nice because it feels like Mini has really put some thought into designing this car and features that would make their buyers more convenient. I like it. Anyway, before we jump inside, let's hear what these quad pipes sounds like. The standout feature of the interior is the design. Back here you've got knitted door panels, copper door handles, and aesthetically pleasing seating materials and patterns. Space-wise, at 5'9", it's great. I have plenty of legroom and plenty of headroom. You can also recline the seats if you like, which is great. You also have some USB ports, some air vents, and a huge panoramic sunroof. Up front, again, the design is just so interesting, so refreshing to see compared to other brands, I guess I would consider very mundanely designed vehicles out there, because the interior just looks fun and cool and cute. From the fabric strap as your third steering wheel spoke, to the projector for ambient lighting, to the twist to start and the analog toggles. Oh, I love it. It's just so cool. And I haven't even mentioned the OLED screen yet. Fundamentally, this is BMW's iDrive 9 system, but Mini's UI designers and graphic designers has done a great job making this feel and look non-German. You've got everything to choose from, like different colors, different themes, different fonts, everything you want to customize it to make this Mini into your Mini. You can basically do it, and it's great. The screen and the head-up display both work pretty well. They're generally really responsive, so it's great. It also has support for wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay. However, because the screen is round and there are widgets on all four corners of the screen, the Apple CarPlay display is relatively small. And as with other BMW and Mini products, they don't really have a lot of physical buttons anymore. And so I tend to rely on the audio voice assistant system, which does work great, but it's not perfect. You can control things like changing modes, changing drive modes, pulling up different screens like your head-up display settings and things like that, but there are certain things that you can't control, which is where the favorites button on your steering wheel comes in, because you can set these shortcuts on your main screen and you can press this button and it shows up on your head-up display, and you can scroll down and select whatever you want, which makes it very easy for a lot of things, for the things that you can't control using voice assistant, like turning on my massaging seats. In terms of amenities, this JCW Countryman pretty much has everything that I would want, aside from rear heated seats. Up front you have heated seats, heated steering wheel, memory driver seats, as I mentioned, also massaging seats, and also Harman Kardon sound system, ambient lighting, wireless charger down here, and a cute little glove box right here that says Mini over here with a nice little fabric strap as well. I have no complaints. I don't think I would want anything in addition to what I have. Not having a gauge cluster is completely fine. The head-up display does show me the speed, although I do wish that sometimes it showed me other things like the gear that I'm in, if I'm in go-kart mode, or the turn signals, because the turn signals doesn't show up on the head-up display, it only shows up on the main screen. But anyway, I think it's time to go for a drive, so let's go. Alright, how about we start off with a nice little launch. So first put this in go-kart mode, put the, ooh, nice sound. Put the transmission in sport, mash the brakes, mash the throttle, launch control activated. Oof. 0 to 100 kilometers in just over 5 seconds. This JCW Countryman is pretty dang fun. Now, grip is fantastic, even though it is wet outside, a little bit wet on the ground. Just a little bit of slippage on the front wheels there, but aside from that, the grip has been great. Now the engine, is very robust in the mid-range, and the dual clutch transmission shifts pretty quickly. You also get a bunch of pops and bangs from the Mini sounds, just like that. But my favorite is the whooshing sound from the blow-off valves when I let off. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can hear that. It's a little faint, but it's there and it's great. Now, I don't think this JCW is as raw as the previous models, but I also think that it is still plenty to have a ton of fun on a sporty, enjoyable drive. However, one thing to note is that because this uses a dual clutch transmission, when you're not using launch control, which is the majority of the time, it does take a second for you to get full thrust because the clutch needs a bit of time to properly engage and engage smoothly. Manual downshifting also isn't as satisfying as I would want. It's a little bit underwhelming because it feels like the car is a little bit reluctant to properly blip the throttle, and it sometimes feels like the clutch is doing a little bit of the work rev matching. With that said, in day-to-day driving, let me put this first back into core mode. The dual clutch transmission actually feels pretty decent. There have only been a handful of instances where it felt a little clunky or a little jerky, and usually that's when the car is cold. Aside from that, the transmission feels direct, responsive, and it will also automatically creep forward when you let off the gas at a stop or whatever. So it feels pretty normal to me. It's not like there is a big sort of learning curve jumping in an automatic torque converter transmission vehicle. Given the weight and size gain, the Countryman still drives very well, handles really well, and the chassis dynamics are also great. I do get hints that it is a front drive architecture every here and there, but for the most part, the all-4 all-wheel drive system keeps this car planted very well. Now, the brakes are also great because, well, you get 4-piston brakes in the front, so the braking power is very strong, but it also gives you very good brake feel, which is fantastic. Steering is sharp and very direct. However, for that first little bit of steering input, it's pretty sensitive, if you can see right there. Presumably to make this Countryman feel a little bit more agile than it really is, personally, I think I prefer a slightly more linear steering rack. In terms of road manners, the Countryman JCW comes with adaptive dampers, so it's stiffer in go-kart mode and it's a little softer in the other modes. Overall, it is a firm ride, but the damping is done very well, so it's no issues day to day. However, the problem is that you cannot adjust the damper settings manually. It's always tied to the drive modes. And so in go-kart mode, if you want the pops and bangs from the mini sounds, you have to deal with the stiff ride. And if you want the softer ride, you have no choice but to give up on the fun driving go-kart mode driving experience. In my opinion, go-kart mode is just a little too stiff for Toronto roads. On the efficiency front, even though this vehicle has over 300 horsepower, I still was able to manage 7 liters per 100 kilometers on the highway and 8 to 9 liters per 100 kilometers in the city driving in green mode. In green mode, the engine will coast in neutral, and also because this car has a dual clutch transmission, it just inherently has less powertrain loss, which also contributes to the efficiency gains. Now, with that said, if you plan to use all 312 horsepower driving in go-kart mode on a regular basis, which I have been doing, do expect worse fuel economy. One aspect that I'm very impressed with on this JCW Countryman is the safety technologies, because it comes standard with the driving assistant professional package, meaning that not only do you get emergency braking, blind spot warning, lane departure warning, you also get adaptive cruise control, lane centering, and even hands-free driving in traffic on the highway, and also automatic lane change. All of the system works very well, and the auto lane change is pretty instant as long as the conditions are safe. And in addition to that, as a cherry on top, you also get augmented reality for your navigation, which shows you with the cameras when to turn left and when to turn right. Alright, so we've talked a lot about this Mini Countryman JCW, but the question I want to ask you is whether if you would pick this over the BMW X1 M35i. For context, the X1 M35i starts at about 60,000 Canadian dollars, but if you want to get one that's similarly equipped to this one right here, it's gonna cost you 8 to 10 grand more than this. Now, in my opinion, that makes this Mini Countryman JCW a pretty good bargain. Plus, you also get all these fun and cool designs, which you wouldn't be getting otherwise in the BMW. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Even in damp conditions.